Woo! Okay, so this is really interesting because I can see me in uh live with Restream, and I can do screen share here in my desktop, I believe, which is interesting. So we're waiting for our way to work through a few more technical issues here. And I'm just going to go forward with this and um, see how this goes. So I'm actually waiting for Svetlana, who is a team member, to join. Hi, Svetlana. All righty. Is it possible for you to be on camera or not possible, or to come into the chat? And okay, so can you see me and hear me in Zoom? I'm pretty sure that's not a problem. Now, I am still playing with tech stuff here, which is my least favorite thing to do in the entire world. And so I'm going to see if I can eject. No. Okay. Then I'm going to see what I can get off of the laptop here. Move a disk drive. I'll just do this and hope for the best. Golly, Miss Molly. Well, let's see now. What is going on here? So, Svetlana, what I'm going to try to do now is screen share the 9EQ workshop. And let's see how I'm going to get to do that. I think just by going like that. There we go. We've got it now. So, let's see. What is 9EQ? Again, I'm Anaiis, and I welcome you. 9EQ stands for 9 essential questions. And these essential questions are universal. So it doesn't matter what language you speak. Showing up when we looking at ditching overwhelm, chaos, and resistance. I don't know which is why you're here today, because these 9 essential universal questions can be so powerful in moving you into that alignment that I talked about earlier. Now, this is where I check that I'm recording, because I want to make sure that I am. The little light is flashing, so I think that I am. But I'm still going to check, because it's such a bummer when you're not sure if you are. I think we're good. So knowing that you're in alignment vertically and in a centered way in each of your embodied chakras, this is the beginning of your opportunity to be in resonance with yourself. And we've got somebody coming in here. I'm going to take a minute to reply. Okay, Svetlana, thanks for that. I'm going to try the screen share again, and let's see, because it says we're still live streaming. Take that time, and if you would like a clip of this part of that part of this video, I can send that to you if you put your information into the chat so that I can find you. It's much easier than going through the Zoom registration information. So let's move on here, and I often ask people when I'm doing the 9EQ work, okay, now what is the most important question? Find that. Okay, let's try this again. I mean, this is really kind of slow going, but we're kind of sort of getting there. It's really interesting. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to select share screen again. And I'm going to select this. Oh, I see what I have to do. Okay, I got it. It's kind of weird. There we go. Okay. We've got it now. All right, pause that, make it smaller. Move this, get that out of the way. That's interesting. That's sliding around quite a bit. All right, let's try this share screen thing again. And there it is. And there it is. And there it is. Now let's see if you can hear it and see it. I'm going to start playing it. And so, what is 9EQ? Again, I'm Anaiis, and I welcome you. 9EQ stands for 9 essential questions. And these essential questions are universal. So it doesn't matter what language you speak when we looking at ditching overwhelm, chaos, and resistance, which is why you're here today, because these 9 essential universal questions can be so powerful in moving you into that alignment that I talked about earlier. Now, this is where I check that I'm recording, because I want to make sure that I am. The little light is flashing, so I think that I am. But I'm still going to check, because it's such a bummer when you're not sure if you are. I think we're good. Well, I am going to check. Just to be sure. So I'm going to stop screen sharing, and the recording was paused. This is why we check these things. And now we're going to go back to the recording and screen sharing. So, yep, and we're going to go back. And we're going to start it again. Okay, so we're going to move that up. And then here we go. So, knowing that you're in alignment vertically and in a centered way in each of your embodied chakras, this is the beginning of your opportunity to be in resonance with yourself. And we've got somebody coming in here. I'm going to take a minute to reply. So you want to take that time, and if you would like a clip of this part of that part of this video, I can send that to you if you put your information into the chat so that I can find you. It's much easier than going through the Zoom registration information. So let's move on here. And I often ask people when I'm doing the 9EQ work, what is the most important question In my case, it's the English language, but you may be speaking another language primarily. It could be Spanish, could be Italian, French, could be one of the languages from Africa, from Central America, though most of the time that's Spanish now. But what is the most important question in the English language? And it isn't why. So, what is it? With the 9 EQ method, the most important question is what is really going on here. There are some other questions that you see in my symbol that I've made for my 9 EQ method. So when you ask, what is really going on here? Who or what are you asking? This is a question that you're asking yourself personally. What's going on here inside of you? What's really going on around you in any situation that you're in? What's really going on outside in your natural environment? What's really going on in multiple places on the planet where we live? But most of all, we want to know what is really going on here, right where you are in time and space, with your self-awareness and with your emotions. An extremely powerful question. So you're here, you could be younger than 35, you could be older than 55 years old, but he, she, or they, male or female, you're exhausted by a dedicated work and or family routine. You might just be coming into the awareness that you are a habitual, possibly chronic overgiver, and that you may be confused about what is giving and what is being loving. So I'm going to share my 9 EQ story with you. And I will absolutely confess to being a chronic overgiver, and it's because of my story. And these are a list of the stories that I have to share that were very empowering to me as I was learning to do and was being introduced to the 9 EQ method from inside out, from my energy field, from each of my embodied chakras, sharing with me powerful emotional information, in environmental intelligence, and natural connection that I have to all of who I am as a human being. So these are very powerful stories, and I do share them. And if you come into a training with me, you would also learn to pick out the stories from your stories or your life that you become aware of have had a powerful effect on how you move through life today, even though the stories may be in the past. So when I share this story, I'm sharing it from the point of view of this is a story that was in the past for me. It turned my life upside down. It got me revolving in reverse. It was a moment of suffering. It could have become a tragedy, but in that moment, I lost quite a bit. So I'm going to go back here and share the story. This is really interesting. When I was 24 years old, I had a 3-year-old toddler, a son. I was married, and my husband and I had just made an enormous decision to buy 10 acres of land in Vermont with a 1750-ish farmhouse, full barn, cow barn with room for 20 cows, and a renovation project. And my idea was to turn this magnificent place, which was right on the state line between Massachusetts and Vermont, Halifax. It was called the State Line House, actually. My dream was to turn it into a bed and breakfast very exclusive bed and breakfast, and that we would be growing our own organic food on our property, and that we might have the cooperation of the local dairy farmer who would come in and bring in cows and produce milk, and that we might then be able to make connections in our community for some really wonderful, healthy food products for people who booked a visit in our B&B. We were living in a wonderful place close to Brattleboro, which is a very vibrant tourist area. It was at that time. And we were also close to a lot of things happening in Massachusetts. Now, the day that we were leaving to make this drive up to our home, I woke up in the morning and I was blind in my right eye. And I will tell you that that really freaked me out, because I couldn't imagine that that was associated with anything healthy or good for me. And I had been off and on feeling unwell for over a year. And I had gotten the word a few months before we were making our move that I would not be able to have any more children, because for some unknown reason, both of my fallopian tubes were now completely blocked with scar tissue. I had a feeling that this had developed because after the birth of my son, I had opted for contraception. We knew we were going to be at least 2 years before we wanted to have another child. So I opted for an IUD. And at some point, my body was telling me that I needed to get that device taken out of my body. And I went to my local gynecologist in Doylestown, who was caring for me, or so I thought. And I just went in for an appointment. I said, this IUD needs to come out. There's something, I'm just uncomfortable with it. I want it out. And this man had the nerve to argue with me about what I desired for my own body. And he said, well, no, we're not going to take that out. And he assumed that I would just walk away and accept his decision on what I was going to do with my own body and my private organs. And so that really didn't sit well with me. And I went home, and my husband and I discussed it, and I made another appointment, and I went back to this doctor. And in that time, I had time to think that perhaps because he was aware that my husband and I were an interracial couple, maybe he had a hidden agenda for me. And maybe he had a hidden agenda that one interracial child was enough, and he didn't want to contribute to any more of that. I don't know. It's just the thought that came to me. And I was living in a very truthful time at that time. So I went back to the doctor and I said, this is not a request. You will be taking this device out of my body today, or you will be hearing from my attorney. Well, that got his attention. He did as I requested. And then I was just dealing with doing all that I could do to take care of myself. And I knew quite a bit about natural health and wellness through food. And I set off on that journey. But by the time we moved into our house in Vermont, I was very, very sick. And I had lost a lot of weight. I was down from my heavy weight of 105 pounds to just over 80 pounds. I had no energy. And one of our new neighbors in our house in Vermont recommended the local general practitioner, whose name, unfortunately, I don't remember now. It's a long, long time ago. And I only saw him twice. I went to visit him. He took an incredibly thorough history, which I had never had before from a general practitioner. And he palpated, he felt around my face. He was very, very thorough, and he was asking lots and lots of questions. His version of 9EQ, I think. And he felt a small lump in my jaw here, right here. And he asked me how long I'd had the lump. And I said, I don't recall. It's been here for a while now. It didn't hurt. And he opened my mouth, and he, the tongue depressor, and he looked, he said, oh, you've got only a partially erupted wisdom tooth there. I said, yes. And then I literally saw the light go on above his head. He said, oh, I think I know what's happening here. I think that you have lumpy jaw. And I said, Lumpy Joe, what the heck is that? He said, well, it's a country term for a common situation where every now and then someone will go out and pick up a piece of Timothy hay or grass and put it in their mouths and roll it around, and they're unaware that there could be a hidden fungus that enters their body through that very simple method. And so I think that what is going on with you, because you have a partially erupted wisdom tooth, is you had a place where that fungus, if you have ever done that, have you ever done that? He asked me. And I said, yes, I have done that. He said, well, this is my professional opinion. It can be very serious, and we're going to do some more tests on you because you're very sick right now. But I'm going to start you on a medication right away that has shown to be able to, over a long period of time, actually take care of this infection. So you'll likely be on this medication, if I'm correct, for more than a year. But you'll still be alive. Well, okay. So I went home and I explained this to my husband. And by that time I had already, we were several months in now. I had gotten a wonderful job as a dental assistant in Greenfield, Massachusetts, but I was too sick to do it. I just couldn't manage it. And so now I was up getting my husband and my young son off to, we found good daycare for him where he could be most of the day. And my husband would pick him up and bring him home. And that was all I could do. And then I would just sort of manage to sit and build a fire. And I couldn't do anything else but get quiet. And that was when I asked, what if I die? What will happen to my 3-year-old child? That was the first question. That was my first 9E Who question. Well, it was actually the second, because I had been trying to find out really for a long time what was really going on with my body, and I wasn't getting an answer. Which led to the second question, what if? And for me, that what if question was, what if I die? And I had already worked through the why question, which I learned was not a great way to focus my attention, because why is about something that's already happened. So it doesn't free up your energy to be in the present moment where you might ask, what if something else is possible? Well, something else was possible for me. I had a very profound awakening to the bigger part of me, I will say. And my purpose at that time, my first life purpose at that time, was to survive so that I could continue being the best mom that I could ever be to my son. And that's what I chose, based on that question, what if? What if I don't die? What if I can heal from whatever's going on here? So I went on the medication. And during that time, I was introduced to a very, very, very incredible inner journey inside my body, which I don't have time to teach you today. But if you work with me as a client, it's something that I share. Well, what happened is that 2 years later, after I left my husband, because as I engaged in my 9EQ process, I recognized that as much as I really like this man, he wasn't a man with a plan. He wasn't a man with an imagination. He was skilled with his hands. And so I knew he could do the carpentry work and some of the physical labor that we needed to do on our property. But that this person, as much as I liked him, was not the man for me to be married to for the rest of my life. He was going to be far too limited in the way he chose to live for us to ever be a proper match or the best match for our son. And he'd already demonstrated to me through some pretty careless choices that my awareness of what might be safe and healthy for our son was different than his. And when you become a parent, somebody else's life is in your hands, you really start paying attention. So I did this meditation, this inner journey, this healing journey that I was showed as I was recovering, and I did it as instructed every day, 3 times a day for 5 minutes. And in 2 years, all of the scar tissue in my fallopian tube fell out in one clump. It looked like I had popped a bowl of spaghetti into the toilet. When I got up, I looked, which I almost never do because I had been cramping pretty bad. I was on a menstrual cycle, and I saw it. I went, oh my God, what is that? But you know what I did? I just flushed the toilet, and I didn't think about it again. Now I'm going to leave it there, except to tell you that I did go on in a few years' time to have another wonderful, healthy baby, another boy. So again, those are the stories that I have where I've been confronted again with some pretty intense circumstances, and I began to learn the method, the 9EQ method. And every time I've been able to, in most instances, resolve and reverse a life upside down situation. And I've even begun then to start doing this for other people because my awareness expanded in such a way that I could sort of see things as they were starting to form before they were actually going to happen, which in some environments is called clairvoyance, where you have a glimpse into the future and it's truthful. So now this is important. This is the image that I have in my own internal system of what I call the no field. And this is a field in which, as I was when I was very, very sick, I was trapped. My body was trapped. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I didn't know why I'd gone blind in one eye. I didn't know why I was down to weighing only 80 pounds. I didn't know why things felt like there was a cushioned barrier between me and my husband, but I also knew that I felt such incredible joy and unconditional love with my child. So when we're in the no field, their energy is still moving, and we're still starting to ask questions like, what happens next? Or is it time? Energy is moving, and it's trying to move us out of the no field because we don't belong here. So this 9EQ method, once you are aware that there is a no, as I've highlighted here, and that you may be in it because you're in reverse cycles and you're having stress and chaos and overwhelm, and you can't quite figure out what the answer is to the question, what's really going on here? You're not quite there yet, but you know that something is having an impact on your life, on your financial stability, on how you're able to use your time, whether you're wasting it or cherishing it and using it to the best advantage for the whole of your life, whether there's an impact on your health, that you're feeling uncomfortable in your body, you don't know why, you don't have the answers yet, and also what's happening in your relationships and what's happening around your sense of love and safety and being safe, healthy, and loved in your own body. So if you identify as a female, do you feel trapped in a life in which you keep banging into a glass wall while you're trying to run toward your best life, but your feet are jammed into a pair of glass slippers that have to do with some idea of who a woman is? Or if you identify as a male, has your mother made you an emotional provider, a substitute for the intimacy she can't sustain, or risk with your father or another adult male if your natural father has died? Well, this is just one dynamic, and this dynamic is known as Me Too Mom. And I'm sharing this with you today because it is an incredible source of stress, overwhelm, resistance, challenge in your life, whether you are male or female. And I'm focusing it now because at the time that I'm sharing this with you now, we're coming to the end of March. And before you know it, it's going to be Mother's Day. And if you are in a Me Too Mom situation, I would be thrilled to help you relieve some of the overwhelm, remove some of the resistance, eliminate some of the stress that this relationship has had on your life. And I will guarantee you it started when you were born. But right now, ask yourself, are you full of galloping on a striver-giver treadmill of accomplishment? Accomplishment. Professional. What are you doing? Are you top? Are you the best? Are you seeking perfection? Or are you trying to prove your worth as a human being by giving, and then giving and giving and giving? And to who? And why? And what are you getting back? Now, I'm sure we've all heard that really bad advice, give until it hurts. Yeah, that's really bad advice. And most of the time, that advice is given to us from the column that I will just call quasi-spiritual, quasi-religious sentimentality that self-sacrifice, which is what giving until it hurts is about. Here's my list again. I would like you to be thinking about yours while you're here with me today. Maybe grab some paper and a pen and begin to think about some memories that you have while we go through this. So that if the most powerful question in any language is what if, because it inspires the imagination, then let's keep going and have you start asking what if while we're moving through the information. So my reason for having you here today is to do what I call reveal and disrupt a pattern that is having a unhealthy impact on your heart, the heart of your being, of being a person who loves, on your soul, which is how you interact emotionally through your soul, how you connect with the spirit of you that lives with everything that is around you, and especially the natural world. And then fundamentally, how you are having a pattern in your energy field that you really would be much better off if we can reveal it and you can disrupt it. So here's another really powerful takeaway for you today. And it's a surprising one because people often confuse thinking with feeling. Your mind can't feel. It doesn't have that capacity. It's a neurological function that does give you the capacity to think, to form words, to interpret information, which is what it's meant to do in a way that's clear and truthful, but it can't feel. So when you mistake that your mind is the problem and that you have to clear a mindset when you're not dealing with the full 360 spherical opportunity that is all of you as an emotional being, you get stuck in the question of why. And this is an emotional reaction. And this is put into the category of a problem-solving query that your mind can take care of, and it can't. So I like to talk about quantum math and about past and the impact. So your why question that you're stuck in, why did this happen to me? Why does this person do that to me? Why does that person treat me this way? Why? And when you are in this rolling reverse cycle of asking why, unless you're a scientist in a lab, most of the time when we're asking this, we're coming from an emotional place or a painful place in our bodies. So when you're in that space, you're looking for story proof of stories that are already running inside of you. And they're proof of both energy and love losses adding up. And you're really starting to be uncomfortable with your life. Can you relate? I hope you can. You know, take a breath. That's the image of what happens when your world begins to be turned upside down and you're not sure where to go, what to do, who to be with, how to do anything. So I'd like you, as I've suggested, to make your unique list of some times when you've been really challenged and you didn't know what to do, but some part of you came up from deep within you to give you some good advice, and you listened. Now, that's something that we often call intuition. And then I'd also like you to see if you have some Me Too Mom dynamics going on with you and a long gone dad. Do you have an absent or dead father? Do you have a father who doesn't show up for you? He's so busy with work. He's so busy doing his job and putting food on the table. He comes home exhausted. He barely has time to sit and have a meal with you before he's off to bed or off to drink or off to zone out in front of a television set or off to go hang out with his other male friends. Do you have a Me Too mom who then leans on you for the emotional support that she can't get from your long gone dad? And then you become an overgiver to your mom and someone who may choose to self-sabotage your relationship with your father, because why doesn't he love you? And why doesn't he give you the attention that your mom gives you and that you really, really like getting from your mom, even when it's negative attention, even when it's rejection, because you're coping with what is a feeling of abandonment from your father. So when you work with me, I have an 8-week course where we go into this in depth and we absolutely unpack it on every level of who you are. But right now, just remember a couple of moments when you felt a little something not quite right with your dad, something a little off with your mom. This is not about judgment. It's not about shame. It's not about blame. It's about you stopping to ping pong between sacrificial overgiving, self-sacrifice, and self-sabotage. That's why we're here today. So now I want to talk to you about the no yes field. Now, this is a little bit different. When you're in the no yes field, there's still a part of your natural embodied chakra system, which is 15 chakras, not 7, but the embodied chakras, there are 7, where there's still some sense of, when you're a young child, that sense of play and imagination and being free and joyful and making up games and testing out new kids that you don't know and find out whether they're going to throw a rock at you or whether they're going to get behind you and push you on the swing and you're going to take turns. When you're in that place in life, you're in the yes field. So some of you gets pulled into the no field and it doesn't feel good. But more of you is living in the yes field, and so you can feel a sense of bliss and happiness in your body, your emotions, your heart center, your happiness, and your mind is recognizing and interpreting the information for you as this is good. Okay. So here's another big takeaway for you today is that the human body is designed to experience bliss. And when it's blocked from having natural bliss, which it should have all the time through its energy centers, it's an exchange of energy, that's when we find that we go for addictive relationships, drugs, alcohol. Women sometimes go into anorexia and bulimia, and men sometimes go into sexual addiction and pornography. That's because they're trying to navigate what's going on between the no and the yes field. You're trying to get back to feeling whole. And at minimum, your mind saying, this is good, which is a judgment. So back to Me Too Mom for a minute. Me Too Mom, which is what we're focusing on today. In the upcoming weeks before Father's Day, I'll be talking about Long Gone Dad. Excuse me. Clear my throat a little bit there. Yeah. This is a very taboo stuff we're talking about here. Because it's taboo because we're all really instructed very early on that we're to honor our mother and father, and we're to listen to our mother and father and respect our mother and father no matter what. Now, the no matter what comes from the no field. So here are some patterns that I will just name for you today. I'm not going to go deep into them. There's the yank back, where with Me Too Mom, you can only go so far in expressing who you fully are, but you can't go past her. There's the shutdown, which is she finds you too challenging because you have a sense of yourself and she doesn't. And so when her lack of sense of self meets your confident sense of self, it creates conflict. She will reject you. She will maybe be punitive. She may spank you. She may dress you down. She may punish you, send you to your room. And you begin to understand that there's something going on here around you've got to please this woman or you're going to be punished. And so you don't want to please her because she's not pleasing you really. And you don't want to be punished anymore. So what do? You shut down. And this is how we become introverts and how we become empaths. So if you're an introvert and an empath, you're in the right place because that's how that process gets started. You go into your room, you read a book, you go outside and play in nature by yourself, you go and sit by a stream and be quiet because you just want to have the feeling of bliss and safety in your body. Now, with the twin or the golden child, that's a different dynamic. And if your mother has more than one child, well, one of you may be in yank back, one of you may be put into shutdown, or one of them may be put into the golden child, the child that everybody adores. It's so smart and so whatever. And then you may have another, if your mother has 4 kids, you may have one of each, which is a child that doesn't have any boundaries because this situation is really confusing. Okay, and then there's one more, which is the straight out child that's owned. This is the child, this is the spinster sister that never gets married, never falls in love, never has children of her own. And she is the designated caretaker of either elderly mom or dad. And sometimes the male can be put in this position too. You're never able to develop a full life of your own. One of the people that I think of when I think of that situation is the author C.S. Lewis. If you're not familiar with him, I suggest you pick up some of his books. But he and his brother lost their mother very early in life. And it was like when you lose a father, it was so traumatic. And he became an author. And in his life, he and his brother, Wally, they kind of step into this owning each other and being caretakers of each other as sworn bachelors, except some very brassy chick from New York who liked C.S. Lewis's writing showed up in London to meet him, and she changed his life. Now, that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But here are those 5 possibilities. And I will tell you that each one of them affects and interacts with and emerges from and damages one of your embodied energy centers. I'm not going to go into that today, but it's another takeaway for you. So then we have the no field, we have the no field, we have the no yes field. And when you aren't getting yourself pulled back out of reverse into the yes field some of the time with some steady source of feeling good that you discover for yourself and that you're able to cultivate, you end up in the no field where you just give up. You go into despair, you go into depression, you can go into clinical depression, you can become suicidal because now your spirit, the part of you that came into your body with you when you were conceived and born, has become trapped by time and space. And it knows that it can make an exit and go on and do a version of life that just doesn't have a body. And then you begin to have this tug of war in your life. And some people do, in the no field, do commit suicide. What is it like when you can't dance with time and space as your full, authentic, whole self, living from your inside out? It's brutal. Because your mind can only see the energy results that we call, whoops, typo, real life. And that real life is energy, consciousness, and information that is first shared as frequency and vibration before you can feel it, touch it, know it, and smell it, and taste it. So everything is energy. And so when I work with clients and with people who are coming to me for many challenges, because there are commonalities with working with the 9EQ method, we discover what they are. And we release you from having to continue to live your stories or your life. We begin to de-story your difficult stories. And so we do that by having you recognize what's really going on inside of them. Then you're able to ask what if and rewrite them. And this brings to you the timeline shifts. Like I had having a neighbor in Vermont lead me to a doctor who actually helped me recover, right? That's a timeline shift. It wasn't the timeline that I was on before I got to Vermont. And then you have the opportunity to experience a different outcome. And you get to feel all of your feelings so that you're starting to be the imaginative, creative, full feeling, authentic, whole kaleidoscope that you're meant to be, and that your body is meant to help you enjoy with a lot of bliss. But what if you don't ask? And what happens if you don't listen within? Well, then you could become a card-carrying member of the SOBS Club, which is the Sacrificial Overgiving Belief System that lives in the no-no field, thrives in the no-no field on drama and trauma and overwhelm and chaos and stress and resistance. And it has a tremendous impact on your life, your love, your time, your money, your health, and your relationships. And in the no-no field, you can't find help. There is no bliss. In the yes-no field, you will encounter a help or transition, as I did with the doctor in Vermont. And in the yes field, you are empowered to help yourself, as I was in my recovery that led to my completely healing my body of secondary infertility. So when you ask within and you listen within, you get pattern, reveal, and disrupt, whether it's Me Too Mom or another pattern. And when you work with me, we will uncover all the patterns that are keeping you disconnected from your core sense of self and from your bliss, your birthright, so that you can be abundant. You can feel bliss. You can share it. You feel your yes, and you learn how through this system, which is the system you're meant to live in, actually, your entire life. Here on Earth, we've just managed to screw it up royally. I don't know what to say about that, but we do have opportunities to make some changes. We have choice. So what if you understand that this is all about frequency? What if you begin to ask and to understand that you have choice and that you can ask, and that your heart is the organ in you that feels, and you can be open to asking for love and wisdom and trust? And then you have discernment, and discernment is where perception meets you within your embodied energy fields, which gives your mind the information that it interprets from what you experience in your outer world. And what you experience and what you perceive may or may not be the truth. We all know the truth is a whole lot of subjective consideration. So then you get an SOB helper, an SOBS helper that comes in. You're not an SOB, an SOBS helper who comes into your life, and through some simple action that they take with you, some exchange of energy, you are reintroduced to flow, to feeling, to focus and form, and you begin the process with the 9EQ method of destroying the stuff that just doesn't work for you anymore. You move into creative chaos. This is for real. And your life may seem like it's falling apart, but it's actually creative chaos because you've asked, and life is bringing you the answers. This doesn't work. It's got to go. That doesn't work. It has to go. We're going to clear your field. We're going to clear the field. You know what that expression means? We're going to clear your energy field so that you can actually enjoy your life. So you want to go from upside down to this? I bet you do. Now, those 4 juicy golden nuggets right there in the middle represent your first 4 embodied chakras that will help you answer all your 9EQ method inquiries. And now you're in feeling, you're in focus, you're in flow, and you are part of the fluid, clear energy that is actually generating the form of your body and the forms of everything around you and the forms of your relationships and everything that you experience. And that, my friends, is empowerment. You move on to your timeline energy options. Are you going to reinforce your story of energy loss? Are you going to de-story your XY proof and move into maintain or energy gain? That's the purple button in the middle. And it's not that easy. Then you move into discernment in terms of wisdom and neutrality and truth and compassion come together, and you can feel these as frequencies, and you become so aware of yourself that anything that doesn't feel like wisdom, neutrality, truth, and compassion based doesn't get into your personal space. And you move into expansion. Woo! Big expansion. Yes, thank you. More, please. Co-creation. So this is where I invite you to join me on a Q&A session, and I will let you know when that happens. You can pop a question and answer in the chat, and you can connect with me through the link that I put in the chat for you, and you can meet me on my platform, Be Connected, and you can just come in for a quick question and answer appointment with me. We can talk about what's going on with you. And I'm also so excited to do deeper work with you. Now, that is where my Q&A happens, and I will share that I'm glad that you're here today live, but there is no replay unless we get to have a very quick chat together. And when we do have a 10 or 15-minute chat, I'm happy to schedule that with you. Not only do you get a replay, but you also get my checklist. So it's, I think, worth the time and effort to connect. And then I do go deeper. I have a very special invitation, my VIP day here with me where I live in Philadelphia. It's a gorgeous place where we can go deeper. And if you're feeling so in despair, depressed, if you're really having very difficult issues and you're in shame over anorexia or bulimia, or you having some sexual addiction and you're doing pornography, I work with men and women. I invite you to come with me for a VIP day and do deeper work. And you can book a call with me for that. And again, I will let you know how we can follow up in a follow-up email. So this is 9EQ for today. Again, I am Anaiis Salas. My foundation is Living Lessons Library. I haven't shared my personal story of where I am today. I have, for the last 2 decades and a bit more, been a master energy healer who has worked alongside doctors in hospitals and physicians in the international arena in the areas of critical burn care and pediatric cancer. With the energy work that I do, just using my energy field and my 2 hands, I have been able to produce stem cells that has made it possible for people to keep a limb instead of having it amputated. And this was a very dramatic, unexpected event in burn care, as well as another dramatic event in burn care. And if you're interested, you can find that on my YouTube channel. And it will be me, very young and very vulnerable and tender and so open-eyed, but I got myself out there in the world and did my work. Today, I am still doing this work, and I've also developed a holistic product that I do use as part of the 9EQ process. It is available for sale, but the best way that you get access to it is first through working with me so that you understand how to use it. It's been powerfully effective in antibiotic-resistant infections that don't resolve with standard antibiotics and medication, and it's been known to relieve long COVID issues. We can do transformation at the cellular level. You can also gain the empowerment to heal yourself. So meet me in 9EQ and let's do it together. All right. I thank you for sharing your time with me again. And stop by my Facebook page. It's Living Lessons Library, and you'll see 9EQ featured there boldly on my page, and other videos there. And that's a good place for you to reach out with me if you want to know more Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I wish you wholeness, health, happiness, and most of all, I wish for you the experience of deep, abiding, unconditional love that is not based on self-sacrifice and it's not based on self-sabotage. Deep, abiding love can't be based on either of those things. All right. Take good care. Okay. So that worked. Svetlana, I guess maybe you're still here. I don't know. Um, yeah, good. So I actually have the other bit, the short segment that I shared with you about the co-creation masterclass. And I'm going to see if I can bring that up and incorporate that in this video because I think it would be kind of cool to do that. So I am going to shrink the screen for a minute and close this out so I can go find the other information. I'm telling this tech is just, I don't know, maybe one day I will feel grateful for it, but most of the time I don't. I have to be honest. Most of the time I'm not real happy about it. So let's see what I can find in moving. I've just moved a bunch of files around, just to see what will happen. And I'm hoping this is going to be okay. Lots and lots and lots and lots of content here. And well, that's not it. The piece I'm looking for is 7 minutes long. And where did I put it? I think that might be it. Yay! Nope, that's not it. No. Here it is. Yippee! Okay, so we found it. Let me open it. And
Conscious Co-Creation Masterclass.
And shrink it. Down to size here. Move this out of the way. Bring this back up live. Oh, I need a 17-year-old who wants a part-time summer job. This is way, way too much tech for anybody to have. That's what I say. Okay, so let me see if I can find. Yeah, that was easy. That wasn't too bad, was it? All right, I'm going to go full screen here. This is a short excerpt from my co-creation masterclass. There are 2 cycles of this. And this is a pretty interesting excerpt because it gives the full foundation of some very empowering energy healing work. So what I'm going to do is stop the share because I think I want to pause the recording and then start it again just so there's a break in between these 2 segments of information. And go back to share the screen. There it is. Okay, so and yeah, this is a preview of a much longer course, but it's incredibly powerful and it has really helped a lot of people. All right, here we go.
And here we go. Now, if you don't take anything else away from this course, this is really helpful to you, and you just kind of have to tuck it away somewhere and pull it out when you need it. And that is, everything is information. And I want to stress that because information essentially is neutral. Everything is consciousness, and everything is in relationship, either conscious or unconscious relationship. Information, consciousness, and relationship experienced in our hearts and lived with loving attention and intention is awareness. And awareness is not limited by time, space, or physical matter. Okay, so now we're bringing all of our bits together. And I'm going to give you again a context, the overall large, big. We're going to zoom out to macro here. And it's a question of stewardship. So a conscious co-creation cycle is your stewardship relationship with your source, your meta being, your soul, your body, your internal life energy engine, and your external living lessons trigger experiences. So your purpose, your life purpose, is actually coded in your DNA, and your purpose is unique, and it is not subject to judgment, comparison, or competition. It can be, you don't have to be famous. You don't have to be global. This is not a requirement for you to identify and complete your life purpose. And as you learn to co-create, completing your creations with baby steps, your purpose is fulfilled. And as you become even a more intentional steward of loving care, you may actually gain new life purposes or expanded purposes. If you do a good job, they're going to give you more to do. So this is a rinse, repeat, conscious co-creation process, and here are your basic steps. And this is how you get started, and I'm gonna really kind of draw this out for you in more clarity later as we go along. But you have first an experience that is going to include some very strong emotion. And when that happens, when you're triggered into a three-dimensional experience or a deeply internal emotional experience, observe if you're having a reaction. And if you're able to take yourself into observation mode, then you're going to gain charge, and you'll have a bigger electromagnetic energy field, and you will be able to shift your angle of perception so that you see new and different options. And this will give you an additional charge, and you'll gain energy. And from that place, you'll be able to choose to accept or reject the options for change that have come and shown themselves to you. And when this process is in motion, from emotion, you have the option to choose A or B or C. And you can choose whether you want to stay in duality or whether something shows up in through the auspices of what I call the third way. So you can decide whether you're going to find balance in the polarity charge, or whether you're going to expand again and choose something that's kind of a little new paradigm for you. Then you're going to set up repeat experiences or more lessons. And we will do this again and again until we understand a theme or a very core narrative that we are working on and peeling back. And eventually you will deconstruct that entire narrative. And when that happens, that's when the opportunity for the quantum jump comes in, and even gaining more electromagnetic charge. And that is when you then are able to move into a really very conscious co-creative partnership that changes timelines and realities. And as I spoke to you, I guess it was last week, we do need a little bit of adjustment time for our physical forms, ourselves, to adjust to the new choices that we're making. So you want to keep that in mind as well. All right, now, I wanted to kind of map out your path to purpose, because for a lot of people, it's really confusing whether they're drawn into drama, they're drawn into external validation, they're drawn into external chaos, because usually there's a disconnect that happens between these two cycles working cooperatively together. On the left, this is your cycle that is coming from your soul, and it's connected to your heart and your body and your feeling states and your mind. And your purpose is, in a way, that's the seed. That's where the seed of your purpose in its fullness is expressed. And then when we come over to the right-hand side, that's what's kind of going on in our bodies when we're having a trigger experience, or when our meta being or higher dimensional self, or just our higher self, is wanting to get our attention, because there's an opportunity for us to grow in a very powerful way and to begin to take on more responsibly our co-creative stewardship. So these two things should always be working together, and you should feel the connection if you are in a good place and you've cleared a lot of your emotional pain body, and you've begun to really allow your heart to be the master of your mind. Then you will be in a very fluid relationship with these two dynamics. Welcome to this webinar in the Conscious Co-Creation Masterclass. And for some of you, this will be the concluding webinar. And the theme of this webinar is full circle. So again, you're going to, when you come on to a trigger experience, or when you're ready to set out your morning or your day, and you're going to be in relationship to your personal process, which I like to do first thing in the morning and the last thing before I go to sleep at night. These are the awareness states that you can voluntarily invite into your time frame: self-love, self-reflection, self-responsibility, self-forgiveness, self-awareness, and the peaceful relaxation into the understanding that love is a state of being. It is not a feeling or an emotion.
Okay. That's a quick glimpse of some of the, most of the time I'm a pretty casual person. I'm actually pretty funny, but you can have a feeling for the opportunity of the depth of the work that I do with people. And it's a very difficult thing to describe in 90 seconds or less. So if we had some gentlemen from the marketing team suggest that I need to be able to say to you in 90 seconds what I just said in 7 minutes, that there's no way to shorten that into 90 seconds. So one of the takeaways that I hope that you will embrace from watching my content today is you can't be a goldfish, have the attention of a goldfish, and come into my universe. That will just never work. You have to be able to have a curious mind, a curious heart, an open heart, and time. You have to have a really respectful relationship with time. And that means you can't demand that time is going to do this for you and expect that you're going to co-create any kind of a really cool life. It doesn't work like that. Lots of people think it does, and lots of people are scrolling and they're getting all these SMSs and all these, and it's just noise. Doesn't do your body very much good. Maybe if you're scrolling how to do keto, okay, I'll give you that. Doesn't do any of your energy fields very much good. We are meant to be living and breathing and speaking and using sound in our communication, which is why I love to do these videos. Texting eliminates all of that. Talking on the phone eliminates the visual. So either way we're looking at technology, we're losing one very critically important component of conscious co-creation. One is sound. You just get those little tick, tick, ticks when you're texting. And then when you're talking on the phone and you're texting, you're bringing sound in, but there's a whole dimension of visuals that is missing from communication, which means you will be misunderstood. Guaranteed. Even when you talk on the phone and the voice is active, the communication is still not full because you cannot see eyes, facial expressions. And that is an essential part of our human communication. Otherwise, the creator would not have bothered to make faces and eyes and mouths. Why bother if we don't need them? So I'm going to stop the video here. It's 3 o'clock. I have more information, but we will, now that we've got this streaming thing worked out, which my goodness, that was a trial by fire as usual. We'll do it again. But before I go, I do want to ask if anyone wants to share a comment, either put something in the chat or speak live here about the work that they've done, because many people who come into my universe have already done a great deal of inner work and personal work. They are very rarely newbies. But I will share that some of the 22-year-olds are not newbies. They're very old spirits and souls and conscious beings who are here for the final act of the circus. So age is not really a factor here. It's a question of how your energy fields are organized, how your chakras are aligned. And the beauty of that, when you can see it energetically, it's just stunning. It's truly, truly stunning. So with that, I'm going to say, does anybody have anything they want to say? Just feel free. Come on, just open your mic and speak about something you've experienced that was really a part of what we shared today. And if not, that's okay. If you have a question that you want to put in the chat, you can do that. And then if not, I'm going to say goodbye. Yeah, no takers, nobody who wants to share. Okay, so adios, and we will try this again. And next time it will be more well organized, less of an improv. But that's how I roll. You have to be present in the now, and patience is so vital to simply being present to what you're experiencing. And that's a very, very beautiful practice to take up as well. Okay, everybody, thank you for being here live and for being with us while we experiment on all of this. I really appreciate it. And go claim your birthright bliss. If it's not me who's going to help you do that, find somebody who will. Okay? All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay. Pretty good, huh? I don't know.